Get me a new pair of glasses. My appointment's in March.
We'll go ahead and begin, and I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to this afternoon's agenda meeting. This afternoon, we'll review the action items that will be formally addressed next Tuesday, February 4th already, at 6 p.m. And we know the sun's staying up a little bit longer and rising earlier in the morning, so getting a little bit more daylight. Bill, will you review those action items?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Tuesday evening, Gary Troutman, President and CEO of the Greater Hot Springs Chamber of Commerce and Hot Springs Metro Partnership, will be here to deliver the monthly economic development report. Moving into your consent agenda section, consider resolution R2517, a resolution amending resolution numbers 10346 and 10442 by approving updated City of Hot Springs pay tables for uniform public safety personnel for other purposes. And our Finance Director, Karen Scott, will discuss the item.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. The 2025 approved budget included raises for all employees. The non-uniformed employees all moved up one step on the previously board-approved pay table, which is a 1.6% increase. And in order to give a cost of living adjustment, or a COLA, each step has been increased by 1.4%. The result for non-uniformed employees is a total 3% increase and was effective on the first paycheck in 2025, which was January 9th, 2025. The pay tables for uniformed personnel in the police and fire departments currently include the 1.4% COLA. Because public safety personnel had a built-in progression to the next step on their pay grade, they would be eligible for a step increase on their in-service date or their in-rank date, which is throughout the year for these employees rather than at the first of each year. Additionally, the fire department pay table had step increases every other year after year 2. Also, the fire department table has been reconfigured so that all fire personnel step each year, as has been the case in the police department. Staff recommends that the board adopt updated pay tables for public safety personnel. Proposed new pay tables will be attached to your BARF. In an effort to treat all employees of the city consistently, staff recommends that public safety step each year in the first pay period of each fiscal year, as do the non-uniformed employees. So that this difference can be rectified sooner than later, staff recommends that all public safety personnel hired prior to January 1, 2025 advance to the next step on the revised pay tables effective on the March 6, 2025 pay date, unless they have advanced to the next step in this fiscal year already. Resolutions number 10346 and 10442 would be amended accordingly. As far as the financial impact, we're not proposing a budget increase at this time. There will be an increase in expenditures due to employees receiving step increases, in most cases, earlier in the fiscal year than previously budgeted. Staff would like to monitor these budget items throughout the year and bring a budget amendment at mid-year should it be necessary. Vacant positions create salary savings in the police and fire departments, and we believe that that would offset the increase in expenditures. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for our Finance Director? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is consider resolution R2518, a resolution authorizing the filing and acceptance of a Blue and You Foundation grant to support certain upgrades at the Community Resource Center. And our finance grants writer, Sarah DeLozier, is here to discuss the item. Sarah.
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Directors. Thank you very much for having me today. The City of Hot Springs is seeking a $225,000 grant from the Blue and You Foundation to support essential remodeling upgrades at the Community Resource Center. As a critical hub for vulnerable residents, the CRC provides life-saving shelter, food, and essential services during extreme weather events, including warming and cooling center activations. However, to fully realize its capacity to serve the community's growing needs, the facility requires additional improvements. The proposed renovations will include constructing separate men's and women's bathroom, shower, locker rooms, a laundry facility, kitchen enhancements, and other vital safety updates, ensuring the CRC can operate effectively and provide comprehensive support for those in need. To date, the city has invested over $1.3 million into the CRC, primarily leveraging grant funds available through CDBG and other sources. While the Blue and You grant does not require a match, the city is using the budgeted and approved 2025 CRC adopted budget. Just lost my place, I'm so sorry. To accomplish and complement this request and ensure adequate resources are allocated to the project. In January 2025 alone, the CRC served upwards of 100+ individuals daily during the critical warming shelter activation during the severe snow and Arctic cold weather events. It was able to provide a safe haven for families, individuals with pets, and those needing immediate assistance. This grant aligns with the Blue and You Foundation's focus on improving social detriments of health by enhancing economic stability, healthcare access, safe housing, and community engagement. The project also complements a $60,000 Emergency Solutions Grant ESG submission that was done on January 13th, 2025 through the Arkansas Department of Finance Authority, with $51,400 of that grant request designated for remodeling efforts. If awarded, this critical funds the investments into the CRC will expand its capacity to serve the most vulnerable members of our community, addressing immediate needs and providing a pathway to stability and opportunity to the Hot Springs residents. Additionally, with the hiring process of a new CRC director already underway, these grant opportunities will be coordinated with the incoming director to ensure professional leadership, effective implementation, and long-term sustainability of the CRC's mission. It is not impacting the annual budget, and the financial impact, as I said before, does not require a match. We are leveraging the adopted 2025 CRC budget, line item 001-07046-5803. And I welcome any questions that the Board of Directors may have.
Any questions at this time? Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. You said it was coming from the previously approved budget. How much is needed to acquire this grant?
Well, as I said
I mean, there
before,
isn't any match per se, so are there any at cost to the city to acquire this grant?
no, sir. So we've submitted the letter of intent. We're waiting to see if they will allow us to submit a full application. The timing required me to come before you at this point, and we are just seeking that $225,000 to match that other ESG grant of the $51,000 and the amount budgeted in the CRC's budget already there for building repairs or renovations, and we're expecting the total overall budget amount to be between $250,000 and $300,000.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
What's the time frame for submission, and then when are they awarded? What's the date of award?
Yes, Mayor. So the letter of intent was due on Monday, January 13th. We will be noticed by Blue and You Foundation if we are able to submit a full application somewhere between now and February 14th of 2025. And then they let us know that they should be letting us know of an award within 90 days.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any additional questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Resolution R 2519. Consider resolution approving the procurement of certain sweeper equipment from Timco. These are street sweepers pursuant to the Cooperative Purchasing Program through Sourcewell. And our Public Works Director, Ron Seabright, will discuss.
Good afternoon. This is purchased through the Sourcewell. This vehicle will replace Unit 8848. It's a 2006 International with 28,558 miles and 2,130 hours that is currently experienced a lot of downtime. The specifications have been reviewed and approved by the City Services Fleet Services. Purchase price of the new street sweeper will be $362,105. With these street sweepers, it's not really the truck part that wears out, it's the rear sweeper part. It's a separate engine that runs, separate unit. It's subject to a lot of abrasives, and the engine usually runs at about full throttle, 6 to 8 hours a day. So that's the part that takes the abuse.
Any questions of Ron? Director Webb?
Mayor, thank you. Would there not be any way just to buy the back engine? Do you have to buy a whole new unit, or can you not buy the back engine and attach it to the existing unit?
That right now is a 2006. So it's a fairly old unit, and the newer units are more computerized and adaptive to the new chassis. The old unit will be auctioned off by fleet, and whatever surplus is used will be put back into the fund.
Would there be a major difference between replacing that, just the back motor that's on the current unit versus buying a whole new unit? If the new unit's $362,000, what does just the back motor cost?
While a truck of that size, you're probably,
You probably looked into that though, hadn't you?
it's about 120,000. The back part's probably about 142. But
It's 19 years old.
it's 19 years old, that's why we're replacing both, the age. The
Would,
interiors, we'd have to rebuild the whole interior of the truck, the dash. It's worn out.
thank you.
Any additional questions? Thank you.
Next item is consider resolution R2520, a resolution approving the purchase of traffic signal equipment from Temple Inc. pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated 1458-104. And again, Mr. Seabright.
This program is to buy signal equipment to upgrade three additional intersections. The intersections that we'll be upgrading are Market and Central, Maida Court, which is the Walmart entrance in Central, and Grand Avenue and Convention, which includes complete cabinets, camera detection systems, and cellular modems. The purchase price of this equipment is $127,498.66, which is actually a lot less than we were getting them before. This is a sole source provider. Our whole coordination system runs off of this type of equipment, and Temple's the only provider of this equipment.
Any questions of Ron on this item?
Yes, ma'am.
Over here.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Could you talk about the cameras on, for this?
These cameras are, the older systems had loops in the road, which were cut in the road that detected the cars. We're moving into a more modern way of doing it, so the cameras actually pick up the vehicles and let the signal know when to change. So we get everything out of the road, so it really helps us when they do mill-in overlays, things of that nature, and cameras are a lot easier to replace than the loops that are in the road.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Thank
While
you.
there are some cameras that law enforcement utilize, these are not those.
Thank you for
Thank
making
you.
that clear.
Thank you.
Next item is consider resolution R2521, a resolution awarding a bid to Square One Enterprises Corporation for Phase 1 of the 2024 waterline improvement projects. This is actually 2025 Phase 1 in the amount of $1,469,316. And Todd Pillar, our project manager, will present.
Thank you and good afternoon. This is our routine annual contract we have. We're doing upgrade our water lines. We try to stay in front of the paving program and put our water lines in because we are the biggest ditch. So we try to get done before the paving program comes in. In this phase of the water line improvements, we're going to do Winona Street. The big one is Exchange Street. Tri Vista Right, 2nd Street, and Whittington Avenue near the fountain. And Square One was the low responsive bidder. The two bids were received on January 13th, and compensation for these will be based on their total base bid items, $1,469,316.
Any questions? Director?
With the water line improvements project, what does that mean? What do you do?
We upgrade we have a lot of PVC lines or galvanized lines. We upgrade those to 6-inch lines, ductile iron pipe. We add isolation valves. We add fire hydrants per the fire department. And we try to do the streets in front of the paving program, so we're not tearing up brand-new pavement.
We also track the number of main breaks that we have, so we know kind of where those pipes are starting to fail. So we're able to go back in and improve those, take them out as we can, and come back in with a new pipe. Otherwise, we'll continue to have main breaks.
Yeah, that was my next question. How is it prioritized? You answered that. Thank you.
So like on Exchange Street, what are we going to be looking at? I mean, is it we have a 2-inch line there now, right? Or
Sorry?
on Exchange, what's the size line on Exchange?
It's a 16-inch line that goes to nowhere.
Okay.
16-inch. So we're going to loop it from, just I can describe it, from Central Avenue near Loray's, the intersection there,
Yeah.
go up Mountain Street
Mountain.
and curl it back and go all the way back down to Prospect. They make a loop. And all those businesses will now be fed off a new.
So that whole area, that street's really going to be closed then.
It is.
And
Traffic program will be very well looked at before they start square one and start any work.
will it still have, will tourists and locals still have access to the parking garage?
Yes, one lane.
Yeah.
We have to keep one lane open just for fire, EMTs, I mean, for.
Well, I know, but when you get past the parking garage, there is no but one lane. There's a parking lane, and then on Mountain Street, there's obviously your right lane and the left turn lane. But yeah, in one way. Yeah. Okay. When do you anticipate some of this work being done?
If we award the contract next Tuesday, it'll be about usually 3 or 4 weeks before they get all their bonds and insurance and everything up to me. And then we'll have a pre-construction probably sometime in February, late February. So construction will start probably in March.
You might want, I don't know, there's never a good time to start, but just remember that spring break.
Yeah,
March and April.
Yeah, we need to
Agreed.
try to work
Yeah,
around that.
we try to take that into
May
consideration
or
too.
June, May might be a better month.
We've got some options because we have several.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have to
streets
do
deal with
Exchange
right
Street first. We can
Yeah.
wait and put that off until August or September.
August wouldn't be bad either. All right, any Director of Trustee?
Thank you, sir. Todd, how long is this program? Is this all year for these 5 streets? Is it 6 weeks on each street? What,
No, it's, the contract's for 150 days,
150 days?
150 days.
Okay.
And we already have, engineered another phase for 2025 and engineered for 2026 already.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Director Garcia?
Thank you, Mayor. Do you think, based on the amount of this, that we might consider putting it on the first item of new business in case the public doesn't fully understand everything that we just talked about?
That's fine.
Have you seen your items? Just to follow up on Director Garcia's comments earlier, I don't know if there's any confusion, probably not on your behalf, but these are the annual projects. Every year, the city manager brings to you a budget for capital improvement projects. This is not bond money that's being used for this. These are just the regular routine repairs and replacements that have to be done throughout the system.
I understand that. I'm just saying, I want to make sure it's transparent to all the public as well.
I wasn't posing the two comments together.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead, and that'll be the first item under new business. Then,
Any others? Next item is Resolution R2522, a resolution approving a substantial amendment to the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, fiscal year 2020, 2021, and 2022 annual action plans to repurpose $83,719.83 in total funds and for other purposes. And our Planning and Development Director, Ms. Kathy Selman, will present the item.
Thank you. Good afternoon. City of Hot Springs was designated a community development block grant entitlement community by HUD in July of 2003. And as an entitlement community, the city must submit an annual action plan to HUD describing projects to be undertaken and how funds will be expended. When there are changes in priorities, expenditures, activities, purposes, location, beneficiaries, or grant funding that are part of an annual action plan, Title 24 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 91.505A, requires a substantial amendment be made to an annual action plan. Amendments to the 2020, 2021, and 2022 annual action plans are needed to reprogram $83,719.83 in unencumbered funds from projects completed either under budget or that were canceled. The substantial amendment in this case is repurposing $83,719.83, and that money will be repurposed and allocated in full to the quarantine shelter. The substantial amendment was made available for review and comment online at cityhs.net, in hard copy in the Planning and Development Office, and electronically distributed to over 60 residents on the CDBG mailing list. Citizens were notified of public discussions and comment opportunities using legal notices in the Sentinel Record newspaper on January 17, 2025, and their upcoming February 2nd, 2025 issue. The Community Development Advisory Committee public hearing online, and a City of Hot Springs Board of Directors meeting, which is the upcoming February 4th meeting. All public meetings were duly advertised, held in accessible facilities, served by public transit, and included contact information to request accommodation should that be needed. The Community Development Advisory Committee considered the substantial amendment at a duly advertised public meeting on January 9, 2025, and by their 3-0 vote, they are recommending approval to the Board of Directors, and a copy of their minutes will be attached, as well as the substantial amendment itself.
Any questions of Ms. Selman? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have two items under your old business. The first being consider resolution R24-142, a resolution upholding the decision of the Transportation Advisory Committee in issuing Mr. Timothy Richard Zaleski a permanent ban from the Hot Springs Intercity Transit Services. Staff presenting is Deputy City Manager Lance Spicer. Lance.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. This particular item is coming back to you after being tabled at your, I believe it was your August 6th meeting back in 2024. So a 6-month table, bringing it back to you. Now the item that was presented to you was brought forth from your Transportation Advisory Committee recommending a ban of Mr. Zaleski from using the City of Hot Springs transit system. Mr. Zaleski has made application for paratransit services. He did that, as the board may or may not recall, he was banned previously from using the service. Item came to the board from Transportation Advisory with the same recommendation to continue the ban. But in that time, Mr. Zaleski was able to make application for paratransit services. Paratransit services is something similar to fixed route. It's complementary. So meaning that paratransit is used for individuals, persons with disabilities. Either they're unable to get to a bus stop or they're unable to use the service, to know when to get off on their route. So there's several regulations that go with paratransit services. And as said, the Transportation Advisory did recommend that the ban continue. But one thing to keep in mind, and this will be for the board's discussion, Mr. Zaleski where he resides currently, he resides at High Rise Circle. There is a accessible bus stop there. He would be ineligible to use paratransit services because he has said that he's able to get to that bus stop and any of his routes along the way, for example, Walmart, Kroger, those are bus stops that are accessible as well. So if he was to use paratransit services and be approved for that, it would have to be at locations that do not have an accessible service. So doctor's office, some of those places that are off route, that he would be unable to get to the bus stop that may be located a couple blocks, maybe even further away. So the Transportation Advisory Committee's recommendation to uphold the ban, city staff feels like possibly that the better course of action would be to have Mr. Zaleski be conditionally allowed to use the fixed route service, to remove the ban since it has been 6 months, and this is quite a lengthy transcript. If you'll recall, this was from May 14th of 2020 is when the initial action occurred. Couple reasons for it. I don't want to get in too far into it, but paratransit services, if Mr. Zaleski was prone to any type of outburst or physical violence, paratransit's more one-on-one service. The driver is more isolated from other passengers. Fixed route in and itself has multiple passengers. It's on a fixed route. Obviously every bus is equipped with cameras, audio, radio, and things of that nature. It may be a better option if the board so chooses to have Mr. Zaleski be allowed to use fixed route service. And with that, I'll entertain any questions you may have.
Any questions, Director Holliday?
Thanks. Just to be clear, you said that the Transportation Advisory Committee has reviewed this recently, or are you referring to when they reviewed it 6 months ago?
Yeah, that was from June 20th of 2024.
Okay, I didn't think it was going back in front of them, but it sounded like perhaps they had reviewed it again, so I appreciate that.
Any additional questions? Thank you. Oh, Director Beard?
Thank you, Mayor. You said the Transportation Committee recommended that he uses the fixed route? Is that what you said?
They offered recommended complete ban of using the system.
Okay, so that is the fixed route is the transit bus, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
All right, thank you.
But you said, I'm sorry, the staff is recommending he be allowed to use the fixed routes?
I believe that's our best course of action to allow him to utilize the system. Obviously, there is a passenger code of conduct, and any further discretions on his part would certainly warrant upholding the ban. But I think at this point,
Over the past 6 months, he wasn't allowed to use the bus, or was?
correct, he was not.
Was not. So somehow, he was able to still get to the store and do the things that during that hearing or during the testimony we were told that he wouldn't be able to get to.
Yes, that would be our understanding, that he has been able to keep his appointments and other types of activities.
Director Garcia?
Thank you, Mayor. In our packet, can you include what you were just mentioning as per possibly a probationary period of, say, 90 days or whatever would be reasonable, that if there were altercations, that the ban would immediately go into effect or something to that nature?
Certainly, and within the passenger code of conduct, we don't necessarily do like probationary, but if we will certainly review any activities specific to Mr. Zaleski that warrant review if there are anything with physical violence, threats, anything like that.
Thank you.
So this matter was tabled. It has to come back to you exactly the way you took it. So there won't be anything new in the packet. He can tell you that next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? Director Webb?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Lance, as you were mentioning, like the different types of transportation options, there's, paratransit, and then the bus, and then you said a fixed route option. Can you just disclose for us what that means too at next Tuesday's board meeting? No, you can't put it in the packet, but kind of break that down, not just for us up here, but maybe those that are, the public as well.
Certainly, I can certainly do that.
Like the size, what the routes are,
Yeah.
the times that they operate and so forth, and I don't guess any of the code of conduct would change depending upon which of those options are in play, right?
That's correct.
So
That's
the code of
across
conduct is across the board for all
Yeah, for all
transit?
services.
Okay, thank you.
There's really not a number of options. There's one option. It's city transit, which is your fixed route, because he doesn't qualify for the paratransit, because he can get to a bus stop.
Yes, that's,
And
Thank
your opening comment indicated that, so it sounds like, plus the paratransit was for locations other than those on the fixed route.
yeah, with
Because
accessible
like you
bus
said,
stops.
it could be a dental office or something like that where, you don't have a bus stop.
That's correct.
Paratransit has to do with the origin and the destination. If his destination is not on a fixed route, he might be able to qualify for paratransit.
But going to Walmart
Is not.
is not.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. We'll look forward to the big packet.
Next item is consider ordinance 02504, an ordinance providing for downtown resident parking program by amending Chapter 7 of Title 10 of the Hot Springs Code and for other purposes. And again, Lance.
Yes, thank you. And the same is true for this one as the previous one. This was tabled by board action, so obviously the item in itself will come to you with the same set of information that was presented before. And if there are any amendments or anything to be made or discussion, certainly do that. I'll cover the highlights of what was previously presented at that December meeting. Residential parking, obviously we do have a small handful of people that are true bona fide residents of downtown as part of our parking program. We do have programs for employees and the employee discount program. But as far as zones go, we've got a primary zone, Central Avenue, and then we have the secondary zone, which is your surface lots, Exchange Street parking garage, and then you have the Washita Avenue primary zone, which is essentially just that straight shot there on the courthouse down to where it intersects with Grand. So the employee parking, or the residential parking program, there are a couple qualifications for it. Eligibility for the residential parking program within the area that we're talking about. This is basically from Prospect as you head north along Central Avenue to its intersection with Whittington and Park Avenue. And these are for residences that do not otherwise have parking available to them on street, off street, whatever that might be. As far as the parking permits for the primary zones, they would be limited to one motor vehicle per address, per verified address, and additionally, excuse me, the vehicles must be registered through the Department of Finance Administration with that as their home address, so that we kind of shorten the qualifications for this particular program. Additionally, so as far as the primary zone, thank you. The residential primary zone, the fee that would be paid for in that residential zone, if you may recall, that was $260 per quarter, or that is $1,040 annually. Primary zone, if you so choose to have the primary zone, that will cover primary and secondary. You essentially be able to park in all zones. Secondary parking, same qualifications. It is $130 per eligible address, and that is $520 per quarter. And the way we have it set up, those fees would be paid quarterly, paid in advance without proration. So that's essentially the residential parking program. It does have some qualifications to it. Really trying to deal with those individuals that do live in the downtown area. And as far as how the program is structured, really tried to tailor it specific so that we can capture those bona fide residents of downtown. And I think if you may recall, at the board meeting, you heard from a handful of those residents is really not a lot, really talking probably anywhere from 6 to a maximum possibly of 10. So not a great number. But at any rate, this was tabled at your previous meeting, so this item will come to you in the same manner.
Any questions of Lance? Director Garcia?
Thank you, Mayor. Since this is coming back from being tabled with the same information, and you can't add anything to our packet, will you be prepared to answer and speak to the owners that you spoke to, and if they are able to, just as an employer, may help an employee with providing a payment or subsidy for parking, that owner of the leased property may also be able to include that in their lease agreement and provide something to them along that way as part of that, as well as the residents that you spoke to and their feedback regarding the paid parking.
Yeah, I can certainly
Thank you.
poll those individuals that I spoke to as far as to those particular items that you mentioned.
Thank you.
Director Trustee?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a question for Lance or for Brian. Will you be able to provide previous amendments that were offered and declined? And then since we're going to consider this next Tuesday, will those amendments be allowed to be presented again? Or does it have to be different?
That were offered at the board meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll go back and watch it and try to type those up. This is a little bit different than the previous one because this is legislative. The other one was a due process right that the individual had in being banned from public transit. We can certainly supplement this packet with whatever that you would like. I can certainly go back and have someone in my office watch and type up the various, because I don't think we have really like solid minutes. I mean, we have minutes obviously, but they're not verbatim. You want them a little bit more verbatim, that sounds like.
Will those amendments be available to be offered again, or do they have to be different amendments than those that were offered and defeated? And you can tell us in the packet. That's fine.
Could they,
Director Webb?
thank you, Mayor, could they be slightly altered?
Of course.
Okay.
Director Garcia?
Can alternate proposals be included like we did on the Spring Street parking?
Do we have one?
I had talked to Lance about one.
I mean, I think there's a few options that were discussed. I can certainly make them part of the
I
packet.
don't know. I wasn't aware of them, so I don't know.
I don't either.
Well, I talked,
Yeah.
we talked
In
previously.
essence, to make just for everybody's disclosure, to in essence have this calendar year, excuse me, 2025 to be the parking fees for the residential to be held in abeyance and to be picked up in 2026 as an option for those individuals that are in leases that were not able to essentially budget or be made aware of these upcoming fees.
Sounds like an easy motion to amend to me.
Director Trustee?
Thank you, Mayor. Lance, you said that the fees would be paid quarterly, the parking fees, and they would not be prorated?
Correct.
So if we pass this, someone's going to pay that full quarterly fee for the month of March?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't like that, so, okay, thank you.
That's why I offered.
Well, as easy as it is to modify other aspects of it, I guess we could always modify a start time of
Think so.
April 1.
Well, and of course, remember when it was brought.
Right.
Right,
Sure.
right.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Thank you.
Next will be your second item on new business, which will be consider resolution R 2523, A resolution approving the application of James Smith doing business as VIP Transportation of Hot Springs, Inc. for a charter service transportation permit. And our city clerk will present the item. Harmony?
Thank you. The applicant is Mr. James Smith, who's the owner and operator of Modified Mobile. He's been operating that business since 2018. On December 30th, he made application for a charter permit. His application states that he's requesting to license up to 6 vehicles under a charter permit that would be doing business as VIP Transportation of Hot Springs. His plan is to begin operation with 2 vehicles, but potentially increase that as business grows. These vehicles would be different than those operated currently under Modified Mobile. As required by the code, public hearing before TAC was held on Monday, January 13th. TAC voted 5-0 to recommend approval of the permit and respectfully submits their recommendation to you for a final decision.
Any questions of Harmony? Harmony, is this a current operator of taxis or anything? Or
He
just
currently operates the Modified Mobile paratransit services, and he's been doing that since 2018.
These vehicles, they can't be the same vehicles. It's got to be different vehicles for this service. But yeah, you all approved his transit, paratransit service previously, and what all accounts, we hear very favorable things of his operation.
He's done well.
very good. Any other questions of Harmony from directors? To Harmony? All right, very good, thank you.
Your next item is consider resolution R2524, resolution approving an agreement with BS&A Software LLC for financial management software and authorizing a budget amendment, and our finance director, Karen Scott, will discuss. Karen?
Thank you. The City of Hot Springs released a request for proposals, that was number HS 24082, for the awarding of a contract to replace our current financial management software. The proposals were to include a plan to replace all software, which is currently, we use New World Systems, which is the Tyler Technologies product. The new software is to be all-encompassing, to serve many functions, including general ledger, accounts payable, cash receipts, accounts receivable, purchasing, fixed assets, utility billing, inventory management and work orders, payroll, human resources, building and planning department, and business licenses. We received 5 responses, which were rated and ranked. The vendor receiving the highest score is BS&A Software, a firm located in Bath, Michigan, and they have over 2,500 customers throughout the country, all of which are municipalities, cities, or counties. This will be a cloud-hosted solution and will include portals for customers to utilize for online transactions for utility billing, building, planning department needs, such as building permits, and business licenses. Staff recommends awarding a contract to BS&A Software for the turnkey installation conversion of new financial software in the amount of $726,740. Notice of intent to award has been issued and no protests have been received. The financial impact is actually $526,740. That is because currently the 2025 budget already has $200,000 budgeted for this project, $100,000 in the planning budget and $100,000 in the utility administration budget. There is a cost proposal and a budget spreadsheet attached to your packet, and I'm very thrilled to bring this to you. The next closest price was in excess of $1 million, and the highest proposal was $3.5 million. I would entertain any questions.
You've dealt with this company before?
I have. We converted to this company when I was in North Little Rock, and I was extremely pleased. It was a, I'm not going to say it was perfect, but they were completely professional, start to finish. The process that we went through, the day of conversion, and the 5 to 7 weeks afterwards when they still had people here assisting employees with utilizing the software.
Any questions of Ms. Scott? Thank you.
Thank you.
Your final item will be an ordinance. It's consider ordinance O2506, an ordinance amending the zoning map from R4 medium high density residential and M1 light manufacturing to C1 Central Business District Zone for 1.088 acres generally located at 420 Convention Boulevard, amending the future land use map to linear commercial corridor and for other purposes. And again, Ms. Selman.
Thank you. The applicant is Mr. Kevin Owens with Crafton Tull Engineering, representing property owner JDHQ Land Holding LLC. They are requesting C1 zoning, that's a central business district, for 1.088 acres of land located east of Embassy Suites between Convention Boulevard and Gulpha Street. It's currently zoned R1, M1, and C1, has future land use classification of linear commercial corridor, convenience commercial center, and residential medium high, and is located in Board of Directors District Number 2. There's approximately 250 feet of street frontage on Convention Boulevard and approximately 205 feet of street frontage on Gulpha Street. A brief snippet from the Hot Springs Code regarding the C1 Central Business District is that residential uses are encouraged in the district in order to use upper floors and create a resident population to support the downtown area. On January 16, 2025, Planning Commission held a duly advertised meeting, called for testimony, and considered the record, voting 5-0 with Mr. Gerke recusing for conflict, to recommend that the Board of Directors approve an ordinance amending the zoning map from R4 medium-high density residential and M1 light manufacturing to C1 Central Business District for the 1.088 acres of land at 420 Convention Boulevard, because the change demonstrates compatibility with surrounding development and zoning. It is consistent with the objectives of the zoning code, and it assists with implementation of an approved city plan, and also to amend the property's future land use map designation to be linear commercial corridor. And that concludes the presentation.
Any questions of Ms. Selman? Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, that's all the items for your next Tuesday's meeting.
Very good. Well, we'll again address these formally next Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. That's February 4th, right here at City Hall. We do have a work session immediately following the